Welcome back to the show, you beautiful people. You are watching the Empathy is Money show. I'm your host, Namdi. And today, just as usual, we're going to talk to you about NFTs. But before we go into that, let's talk about what it means to be an empath. What is it? What does empathy mean? The definition of empathy is the ability to identify and understand the wants, needs, and viewpoints of those around you. Without experiencing them for yourself at the moment, people with empathy are good at recognizing the feelings of others, even when those feelings may not be obvious. When you're able to experience empathy, you're more likely to build and fortify social connections. It also encourages you to regulate your own emotions, and it promotes helping behaviors. Those aren't just amazing traits as a person, they are also ones that will make you a better leader. So I encourage you all to be an empath. Now let's dive right into the main show, the main topic for the day. Today I'm going to lead you guys through the idea of copyright when it involves NFTs and digital IP. So the NFTs are the new craze. Non-fungible tokens have become the new hype. And if you've been watching my previous videos, I've taken you along. What are NFTs? Why are they important in the space of digitization of properties, art, music, books, what have you? Why is it important for us to have this conversation about copyright? Because when you start putting things on the blockchain and claiming them to be yours and trading them, it's important to know the relationship between the original author of that piece, of that artwork, of that property, and the traded version of it, and what laws govern copyright and reuse of that property. One thing we want to understand is that the fundamental principles of blockchain as it is, what the blockchain allows us to do is to be able to get rid of intermediaries, to get rid of those middlemen that place a huge amount of, in most cases, charge a lot of money or take a lot of value away from being able to exchange art or experience art or music or books. There's always middle counterparties, and it's important for us blockchain helps us get rid of those middlemen. And so before NFTs became a real thing or became commercially known in 2017, they've been around since 2014, 3 years prior on the blockchain. But 2017 introduced the ERC 721 protocol that allowed for us to be able to trade these NFTs on the blockchain. Now, with the NFTs becoming more accessible to more and more users, what you're starting to have become commonplace is you're finding a lot of people copying art and just putting it on the blockchain and reselling them as theirs. And you now start to wonder, when it comes to licenses like copyright, copyleft, and Creative Commons, how do these licenses cover or govern NFTs? First, let's understand what's copyright. So one thing we want to know is the difference between copyright and right of use is that copyright identifies the ownership of the author of the work, and reuse focuses more on monetary aspects and reusing the work. Now let's dive right further into copyright. Copyright is a type of intellectual property that gives its owner the exclusive rights to make copies of a creative work, usually for a limited time. Depending on what which country you're in and the laws that govern that country. They define copyright differently. Here in the United States, if there's a copyright claim on a particular work, that means that you can't profit from it commercially. You can experience it, you can share it, but you can't commercially use it. And also there's also different licenses. So like I said, it's a type of IP that gives its owner the exclusive right to make copies of that creative work. And it's all usually for a specific amount of time. A very restrictive concept that allows only one thing: to place a work with its copyright held within a written medium for a given period of time. Now, for you to be able to use that copyrighted work, you're going to have to request permission from the original owner through email or what have you. And there's usually depending on the copyright owner, they might agree to let you use the work for maybe a limited use or limited time. You may have to pay for it, but you're going to need permission. The other form of license is copyleft. Now, this is limited to the digital space. It's not very well known, mostly used by coders and programmers. The copyleft is a general method for making a program or any other work free, which forces all modified or extended versions of that particular work to be free as well. I say that it's used mostly with coding because you find out that when it comes to coding, and it allows for that particular, say for instance, the program is written and it's released under the license of copyleft. It allows that program to be further improved or for more people to work on it. Any further restriction with that work limits could be dangerous to that program because it doesn't allow people to use it. It wouldn't allow the program to be improved further. So, and that's that for the copyleft. I'm going to move into Creative Commons. You guys have probably heard a lot more about Creative Commons. It became a thing in the 2000s here in the United States. It was a license that was conceived by the late Aaron Swartz, and it highlighted simplicity, protection, and sharing all in one. So the goal of Creative Commons is to be able to, it divided the license that you get for a piece of work into 4 different licenses known as attribution, share alike, no derivatives, and non-commercial. For attribution, you specify if any changes that have taken place, and there are no other restrictions. For share alike, if you change anything, the new creation must respect the same license. For no derivatives, if modified, the material cannot be redistributed. For non-commercial, unlike previous licenses, it is forbidden to use the creation for commercial purposes. What's important with Creative Commons is that the license is very flexible, and it allows for extensive customization of the original work, and you can also trade it, you can share it freely. So where does this place NFTs? As far as non-fungible tokens are concerned, we first want to understand NFTs. What does NFT do to an artwork? When you tokenize a piece of work, you place it on the blockchain as a non-fungible token, you have certified the authenticity of that work. every time that it gets traded or shared, it makes reference to the original creator or the original person who placed it on the blockchain. Matter of fact, with certain art pieces or NFTs, every time it's traded, the original author gets a piece of royalty for that art. It allows you to prove that you're the author and the buyer or seller of an artwork. That's it. So now that we've understood the different licenses that exist, which just a quick recap are copyright, copyleft, and Creative Commons. With copyright, the owner has the exclusive right to make copies of the work, and usually for a limited time. Copyleft, it's the work remains free, and it forces all modified or extended versions of that same work to be free as well. Creative Commons is a much more lax license. It allows people to be able to share it and trade it, but it also although with the Creative Commons, there's a way you can combine the different sub licenses of Creative Commons that also restricts its use. But for the most part, the goal is to distribute knowledge and culture as much as possible while respecting the original author's choices. So the Creative Commons license allows the author or the reuse of the work under 4 conditions, like I mentioned: attribution, share alike, no derivatives, and non-commercial. So now that we know these licenses, what kind of challenges do we have with respect to NFTs? It's important to note that at the moment, it's very hard and very complicated to put images directly on the blockchain. But with NFTs, this work is like decentralized, and it's because of the nature of blockchain, it's immutable. It cannot be changed. It's permanent. It's a permanent record, and it's open to the public. So that limits it to. I think it presents a significant challenge on policing copyright. It depends on what part of that spectrum do you lie on. Do you believe that art, or do you believe that work should be completely limited to the original author, as in the copyright license should be limited to the original author? Or do you believe in freely create, freely share, and freely take advantage of art because you believe in abundance? But either way, regardless of where you are on that particular spectrum, it's, it definitely highlights the challenges that we have with blockchain and the proliferation of NFTs. Right now, it's become really difficult to even track some of these NFTs because the scope of what we can do with NFTs is infinite. You can literally just create. I read recently of a famous comedian, can't think of his name, and he basically drew the Brooklyn Bridge, a sketch of the Brooklyn Bridge, and put it on and tokenized it as an NFT, and he put it up for sale, and he's letting people bid on it with a minimum bid of $10,000. I think at the point of time when I read the article, the piece of art would just look like trash to me. It was $36,000, and he was looking for $59 million for it. Is he going to get to sell that piece of art for $59 million? We're yet to see. I mean, it's all about what the buyer values it for. But I just think that highlights what's possible with NFTs. Now, is this a bubble? Will this all break? Will this bubble bust and people are going to be holding onto the bag, holding onto a piece of art that I work not worth that much? That's possible. That's in the future. But for now, it with respect to licensing, it's very and copyright. It's very clear. It's very clear that policing licenses is going to be a difficult thing with blockchain. But more and more initiatives to distribute content are become more prevalent, are becoming more and more prevalent. All lawsuits are taking place, but it's very clear that um, it's going to be difficult to police it. Even if people in year 2021 that we're in, I believe that even though people choose to take advantage of NFTs to turn their physical properties into art, I think in the future there's going to be a more and more conversation around the topic of copyright is going to come up, to where folks are going to have to make a decision on whether they, and I'm talking about creators, are going to have to decide whether they want to uh, embark on the difficult task of chasing and pursuing and trying to enforce copyright laws, or they're just gonna just enjoy it, let people have it, let people experience it and do whatever they want with it. Um, because either way, if you've tokenized your art, then you're gonna get royalties for it, regardless of who uses or who trades it. So I think that people have to snap out of this idea of ownership. And this is my point of view, because yeah, ownership has been the way things have been done in the past, where you create an art and you want to limit the use. You want to be able to, you want to be the only ones and the only ones who you to benefit from it, and the people who you give the rights to benefit from that particular piece of work. But I think that the future, especially with the advent of NFTs, I think that that future is going to allow more and more people to partake in the space. And with that comes the need to just let go of your need to be in complete control of how an artwork or a piece of property, how it evolves. Um, if you've tokenized it, if it's on a blockchain, then then the royalty is going to come to you. It's going to trace back to you. There's going to be, because this is an open ledger, so there's going to be tracking uh, of addresses that are associated with a piece of work. It's going to be able to we're going to be able to track them. Um, and with that, I'm also actually thinking that the whole idea of copywriting is going to evolve and move into the blockchain and look differently in the future, where if you are the original author of a piece of work, it's more likely than not going to, uh, you know, especially if it's decentralized, it's going to find you, as you know, it's going to trace back to you as the original author. But if we're relying on centralized body, authorities or parties to decide for us who owns what and who gets to use what, I think that in itself just defeats the idea of blockchain and the idea of allowing people to partake in art or property openly and share. I, for one, never liked the idea that there's a vault somewhere, the Freeport vault, where $1 billion worth of art is hidden and keeping away from the public in the name of ownership. Um, yeah, I think that that's what blockchain solves that problem, and we should openly embrace it and evolve with the space and the technology. All right, that's all I wanted to share with you guys, and I'm really glad that you tuned in to listen to this. I hope it brought you value. I'll bring you more in next time. See you.